right, so this is the last one. I wrote down all the coordinates because you're going to need that to, actually it's the last two, to find the midpoints. And actually the midpoint's really easy to find. All right, so again, you'll have your 6 triangles. If you don't want to use that equilateral for anything other than to graph it, that's fine. You can draw, you know, an extra scalene, an extra right, and extra isosceles. And you know what? I'd be okay on 15 and 16 if you just used 3 triangles. So you can just find the actually for 13, 15, and 16, you can just use 3 triangles. And if you do more than 3 triangles, then you do all 6, and I can give you some extra credit for it. All right, so let's just do it for the 3 triangles here. All right, the midpoint's really easy. All right, so midpoint formula. All right, so is just a point, and you take the average of the x's and the average of the y coordinates for a point, for 2 points. All right, so if you want to find the midpoint for the side that connects the points -6, 5 and -7, 3, for instance, then you would add -6 plus -7 divided by 2 and add 5 and 3 and divide by 2. All right, that's all there is to it. So here, I'll just call this side 1, 2, and 3. All right, so I'll see if we can squeeze this in here. All right, so number 1, the midpoint, I'll just call it M1. Midpoint 1. So that's going to be -6 plus -7 divided by 2. And 5 plus 3 divided by 2. All right, so -6 plus -6 plus -7 is -13. So that is -13 halves. And 5 plus 3 is 8, so that's 8 halves. And I don't have a lot of space. 8 halves is just 4. So I'm just going to make that 4. Oops. And I'll just put a little arrow next to it. This was 8 halves. All right, so now let's find midpoint 2. All right, that one is -7 plus -3. I add my x's divided by 2. And 3 plus 3 divided by 2. So that's going to be -7 plus -3 is going to be -10 divided by 2. And 3 plus 3, that's 6 divided by 2. Well, that's just going to be -5, 3. All right, and then let's find the third one. Oh, let's see if I can put that in. All right, so that's going to be, I have to put it down here. -6 plus -3 divided by 2, and 5 plus 3 divided by 2. Well, we already saw that's just going to be 4, right? So this is going to be 3 halves, 4. All right, so once you've got those, you found the 3 midpoints, to the best of your ability, you're going to graph those midpoints, right, and then connect with a ruler. So here that would be that's a -6.5, -6.5, 4. Now obviously it's got to be on the triangle. So that's where my triangle goes through between 6 and 7. So that must be it, right? And that is the y coordinate 4. And then I've got negative 5, 3. Well, that's pretty easy. That was right here. And then I have 3 halves, 4. So, wait a second. Oh, excuse me. That's a negative. That's not a 6. I'm looking at that, I'm going, that can't be 1.5. I shouldn't see the negative. That's negative 9 halves, 4. So that's 4.5. So that's 3, 4.5. 4 has to be right there. So your triangle can basically tell you. All right, and then you'll use a ruler. I'm kind of stuck with this line tool. You'll just connect your midpoints. Oh, excuse me. We want, well, this one is number 16. So you know what? You're going to need 3 different sets of, you will need 6 because you'll need 3 triangles for number 15 and, oh, you know what? So long as you do one of each, all right? As long as you do one of each. So there's this is my 16. All right, I did this is a mid-segment. So I graphed the mid-segment. So I did number 16 first. All right, so there's the mid-segment. All right, so mid-segment goes from midpoint to midpoint. I'm going to use the right triangle over there, and we'll graph the median. Median goes from vertex to midpoint. So that's the mid-segment. That's number 16. Here's number 15. And by the way, I'll post the slightly reduced requirements on numbers 13, 14, 15, 16, right? So you just need on number 13, well, actually I'll just post it. I won't go over it now. All right, so let's take a look at this one here. All right, so let's find our midpoints. So we've got, I'll just call this side 4, side 5, and side 6. Ignore that 4th. All right, so the midpoint for side 4, that's going to be -1 plus -1 divided by 2. Add the x's, and then 5 plus 1 divided by 2, add the y's. So that's going to be -2 divided by 2, and 6 divided by 2. Well, that's just going to be -1, 3. So I'll just graph that right now. -1, 3 is right there. So now this time, it's not going to go from midpoint to midpoint. It's going to go from vertex to midpoint. And that is a lousy line. So let me fix it. Still a lousy line. Not as bad. Doesn't center the board. How's that? That'll have to do for this. All right, so now let's do the same thing with side 5. All right, so we have, we're adding the -1 plus 3 divided by 2 and 1 plus 1 divided by 2. So that's going to be 2 divided by 2 and 2 divided by 2. So that's going to be the point 1, 1. All right, and so there's the point 1, 1. And we're going to go from the vertex, so it's the vertex that's opposite. You're not going to go along the side. You're going to go from the opposite vertex to the side. There we go. There's our next median. So this one was mid-segments. This one is median. So 16 is mid-segments. 15 is medians. And then last, you're going to find one more. So we're going to take for the midpoint of side 6, that would be 5 plus 3 divided by 2, and, oops, excuse me, -1 plus 3 divided by 2, and 5 plus 1 divided by 2. So that's going to be 2 over 2 and 6 over 2. So that's the 0.13. All right, so wait a second. Can't be. Oh, excuse me, right here. I was counting from my side, not from my X and Y axis. All right, so now I should have graphed my triangles in something other than black, huh? Just go from here. Your midpoint to the opposite vertex. There you go. And if these were graphed right, they should intersect. But I think my points are slightly off. I think it's this one is the problem. It keeps, that looks much better. So they all should intersect in a point. Right? And that is, and you should graph that, that is the centroid. All right, so number 15. That's all you needed to do, right? That's it for number 15. Let's look at number 16. Number 16 says graph the triangle. We got that. We found the midpoint of each side using midpoint formula. We got that. We drew the mid-segments of the triangle. We drew that. Then find the length of each mid-segment and side. Now, a hint. If you just if you're using the same triangle, oops, and you just found the lengths of each side, square root of 5, 4, and square root of 13, you don't have to find them again, all right? We're done. You found the length of each side. So you will have done that in a previous section. The only thing that you have to do here now is, too far, is find the lengths of each of the mid-segments. And then again, if it's a horizontal line, you don't have to worry about it. And remember, you know the coordinates it's going to. So for instance, I have one horizontal line going between sides 1 and 3. So that goes from midpoint 1, that's at -13 halves 4, and 3, that's at -9 halves. So that is -13 halves minus a -9 halves. That's going to be, there's a difference of 4 between those. 4 halves, so that's going to be 2. So this length here is 2. All right, I don't need to use the distance formula to figure that part out. I'm going from a half, so I've got 1/2 and 1/2 on either side, and 1 in between. That's 4, or excuse me, that's 2. I just need to use the distance formula for the other points. All right. You might want to make it decimals, and you do not need to simplify if there's a decimal in the, you can give me a decimal equivalent or leave it the way it is. All right, so I hope this helps you answer all the questions on the honors. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.